Good evening. Eric Stith with a Hand Up Recovery Home, and we have Wilbert Cook, the Executive Director of a Hand Up Recovery Home, 4032 West Van Buren, serving the Garfield Park, North Lawndale, and the Alston community. We're going to talk about how a Hand Up Recovery Home and other nonprofits help in the real estate portion, helping people gain skills to rehab homes from the carpentry, plumbing, electrical, and also how they can actually take people that have had problems with drugs and alcohol and teach them skills how to rehab homes. And some of those people have actually bought homes and three flats and now housing other people.
Yes, definitely are. One of the best avenues for helping people find a good employment avenue where they don't have to do a lot of college, they don't have to spend 40 grand a semester or 10 grand a semester. Sometimes as little as 5,000, 2,000, and in the right situation, they can be trained by someone in the profession, and then some of them, sometimes they invest in these young men, and they help pay for licensing, they help pay for a few courses or tests, and then they get them out there and they test and they become licensed salesmen, and they work with them a year or two, 18 months, 2 years, learn the business, then they become licensed brokers. But then they also sometimes end up being people that help handle the office paperwork, help move paperwork around. Then you can move from the real estate companies that help sell properties and do listings to possibly working with a listing organization if you're good with computers and databases, or you can end up working at title companies helping research property for them and make sure the deeds are good, and any liens or anything else they can find out and help ensure they're dealt with, handled, paid off before the closing on the various sales they go for. So there's a wide array of opportunity with or without college education, with or without even sometime a GED. But usually as you're doing that, people interested in seeing you further yourself will oftentimes make sure that while you're training to learn how to be a salesman, that it's not a bad idea to go test out for the GED and at least get that behind you. Not necessarily having to go back to school, but oftentimes many of these guys had a skill set. They're a lot more intelligent than we sometimes give people credit for. Matter of fact, half the people I know that work in the street life got bored in the school system and ended up out there. There's another half that grew up in tough situations, and in order to help take care of themselves, their sibling, sometimes their entire family, mothers, fathers too, they sometimes resorted to the street life. But real estate is a great way out. And Eric, I know you have seen people work their way up as salesmen. You've seen them become great office clerks, office managers. You've seen some go into the title companies from the community. You've seen others build community development corporations that help build other housing units and sell housing or rent housing. So tell me a little bit more about some of the interworkings since you've worked in this field over 24 years, 25 years, and been very successful at various points, including you're on your way back to the top again.
Well, one of my interns back in the day, Torrey Thomas, he works with a company, Illinois Real Estate Brokers, in the west suburbs, actually. He actually was able to, start out as just an intern, helping out. Then became an office manager, ended up 5 years later getting his own real estate license, and now he's actually helping in the recovery business industry, helping folks with apartments, helping people stay sober, of course, but helping people get their own homes after they move out of the recovery house, after they get out of the three-quarter house setting. And, and also helping them rent apartments, but the goal ultimately is to own their own home. Why rent when you can own your own home? And most people, if you can afford to pay a mortgage, you can afford to buy your own house. You just have to talk to a professional. Talk to your own bank. Talk to some folks in the real estate business. And you can actually own your own home too.
Yes, and if you could possibly get it with no money down, Eric's your man. He
Well-
knows about every avenue in which one can save
Well,
money.
IDA, the Illinois Development Housing Authority. You've got Section 8 CHAC program that allows people that are on Section 8. CHAC has have a housing choice voucher that can actually help use that choice voucher to actually own their own home.
And back in the 70s, they didn't really believe in that, but now they have really realized that they can make families safer, more comfortable, and feel more part of the various communities and integrate into the different mixed-use communities and thrive as a family when you put them in a setting where they're around other working-class people. Unfortunately, they found out when we stockpile people, literally stockpile them, in those 15-story project buildings, sometimes we undermine their potential for success by piling poverty on top of poverty on top of poverty, and also not putting nearly enough resources in there to help them move forward in life. So now the new models are much better. They're mixed-use developments, whether they're apartment buildings, whether they're new developments, whether they're new village developments all across Cook County. They're spreading people out who are struggling financially or struggling to come out of homelessness, and they're putting them in a better position to succeed because they're putting them around more successful, hardworking people instead of piling them on top of other people with similar problems and limited or no resources. Would you agree, Eric, to some extent?
Yes.
Okay. So one thing we want to talk about too, which Eric alluded to, is we help people learn to stay sober first and foremost, stay clean, learn to deal with their addictions, and now we've even pivoted, realizing that there's so much emotional, mental anguish that comes with those lifestyles, whether it's not taking care of your family, whether it's losing everything you had and your family, the wife, the kids, the girlfriend, the kids, the house, the cars, all kind of things people go through. So they're dealing with a sense of loss in so many ways in which they're struggling with the guilt, the shame, and all that. So we're doing a lot more mental health, emotional health development and adjustments so that people can feel more comfortable. But as a part of that, we create the success of trying to get them in cooperative living first, which the recovery home models, 3-quarter houses, sober living houses. But the ultimate goal is for them not to live there 20 years. There are some who choose to go into that business and actually stay there and manage programs for 5, 10 years, great people. However, many of them we help transition out of there in as little as 3 to 4 months, and as long usually as 18 months, 2 years, sometimes 3 years. And then they're able to sustain themselves, set up savings, and then they're able to move into their own apartment units. Generally, we try to get them in affordable apartments so their rents do not eat up their income. And we know from the recovery community, sometimes the worst thing happens early in recovery is people get overwhelmed by bills. And that kind of stress, high rents and you got a marginal income, you can feel like you're doing as bad financially as when you threw your money away living the addictive lifestyle. So you want to have money where you can treat yourself, you can get a haircut, you can groom yourself, you can go out sometime, you go to dances, you can go to the movies, you can take your children finally out to events where they can enjoy themselves, family outings. So we don't want it all going to rent. And then you feel like you spent the money usefully, but you get some of them same feelings of neglect, overbearing. You start to wrestle with whether you made the right decision to move in an expensive place, all that. So we try to help people find the modest living, then grow into the better apartments. And doing now, many of these developments, Fulton Market, I know 5 or 6 people in my family, other families have moved there because Alderman Barnett made sure as part of their development plan and the city of Chicago, affordable housing laws, make sure that they try to put in 15-20% housing. And if they don't want to put it into their new units, then they pay into a fund to help them build that same amount of additional affordable housing so people can still have an opportunity to live in nicer places, newer places, homes, other apartment units they can build with that fund. So that's something great, but also it provides opportunities for those in recovery to work, help people find affordable housing, help them learn the network, help them learn to get into cooperative living situations throughout recovery, but then also find affordable housing everywhere across the city. There's several units that's coming online in the North Lawndale area. One that came on recently, I think just before the holiday season, was down there by Mount Sinai Hospital. It's like, I think, 150 new units of affordable housing in that mixed-use development around the hospital between Ogden and Roosevelt Road. And it's plenty of people was on the waiting list, trying to get on the waiting list. And then there's another, I think, 62 units or so, 68 units coming on Ogden, across from the 10th District Police Station in North Lawndale. Grace Manor, I believe the name of it is. And if you need to find out anything else, the Grace Memorial Foundation, I believe, or something similar to that, are in charge of that project. And they should be online if things go as well as we like, April, May this year. So, and it's looking great. The building, they're inside fixing everything up. The elevators are in. The perimeter is there. They're going to be putting in glass. A lot of times they put in windows glass because they don't want, neighborhood kids to get bored and or adults and decide they want to throw things. But they're also putting better glass in and other glass, similar, transparent fiberglass that doesn't break as easily.
So what do you know about what's going to happen in the United Center area, the Reinsdorf?
Well, we don't know what's going to happen, but we know it's going to be billions of dollars of development. We know that.
How nonprofits and how the recovering community that's been in that area for years and years and years can actually maintain some opportunities.
Well, the sad part, Eric, is if you follow St. Leonard's, because of a situation whereby some criminal activity happened in the area, they really have boxed them in. They have, other than St. Andrew's Court, which is a building for ex-offenders, it's like a little apartment building. It's really affordable. People would never know it. It's been sitting there for a while, about 20 years, 24 years, something like that, maybe even longer, 30 years. And it housed them and give them the ability to have affordable housing. They pay minimum rent or no rent. They start working and have to get jobs. And then they get jobs and they have to pay into a fund, a bank fund, where they prepare to save most of their money. Yeah, correct. Like savings. 30 to 40% of their money has to go in the savings fund so that they have money to pay security, deposits, house, get furniture when they finally move out into their own apartments throughout the city of Chicago and the suburbs. So it's a great program, but it's limited because they never were able to expand it because the community went so upper middle class and rich people in a matter of 10 years, and then they fought to limit them growing. They used the criminal activity of a few to starve out the growth of that facility. So they have about 1/4 block, half block of facilities. They do GED, they do job training, they help hundreds of people recover every day, every week, but they should have been able to grow to helping thousands a week. But unfortunately, The neighborhood shifted faster than expected. And most of all, they got a big backlash they never expected. But the good part, they're still doing great work. They still one of the best facilities in the country. And we know dozens of people who've come out of that situation, who've helped dozens of more people get sober, men, women, and families have been repaired, restored, and that are thriving on the west side and across the city of Chicago and our suburbs, because St. Leonard's House is one of the greatest recovery-based institutions for ex-offenders that ever existed. And it was primarily males in the past, but they do a lot of community service, wraparound services for the entire family, if I'm not mistaken now. So great group of people. Then they have Grace Houses where they house their women, which has helped hundreds of women. A few dozen I know that have been blessed and fortunate enough to turn their lives around through their programs. And they have helped hundreds every month turn their life around, get a fresh start out of prison, fresh start in recovery, fresh start from homelessness, and changing their life around various circumstances. So they were great. And they've created jobs. They've created jobs for those people who have grown through and out of their struggling lifestyles into a more traditional lifestyle and become successful. They've helped them get GEDs, get jobs on all levels. And then we have another program that's great and that's in that area on displays.
Cathedral Shelter?
Yeah, Cathedral Shelter, but it's also another one. I'm at a loss for words for the name of it.
But you got Gateway at Independence and near Roosevelt and Taylor, actually, at Independence. Gateway Foundation is a great program. You've got the new program, Phoenix Recovery in the Austin area.
Okay.
Near
Phoenix been around a while, but they've kind of restructured and
five to 7 years. They haven't really.
Oh, really? That's all. I'm sure they haven't been
Don't think they've been around 10 years. But Phoenix,
you know what?
Phoenix Recovery operates out of the Austin area in the old YMCA, actually. And they help hundreds of people every week, actually. They've got people living in the program. They have meetings with a couple of hundred people, a couple of different nights a week.
Right. And a colleague we've known for over 30 years is in charge of that program. And they're trying to build a network of cooperation between the different recovery programs all throughout the west side and the city of Chicago so that we can help more people, but also be unified in our efforts where people can find the beds where they're available, because oftentimes in some of the more well-known programs and more well-funded programs, they run out of beds kind of quickly oftentimes, especially this time of year when it's colder and more people immediately seek the shelter and sometimes learn how to change their life.
Correct.
They're getting out the weather, but while they're out the weather, they actually get out the lifestyle. While they're out the lifestyle, they oftentimes learn how to change their life. It's various ways to get to the point, which I was listening to some Tony Robbins before I came in, to get to your breaking point or get to your change point or to get to your transition point. And one thing A Hand Up has been very adamant about is we try to help people make whatever necessary changes, whether it's improve their mental health, improve their emotional health, get off the drugs, get off the heroin, the cocaine, and the meth. Whatever it takes to help them, we try to steer them to the services that's available, and we give great support in all those areas.
Well,
We're the support team in most instances. We do some temporary housing, and occasionally it turns into some pretty permanent housing for some that's willing to help out around there. But then the other part is we help them get to the programs, get to the job training programs, get to educational programs, and also get jobs and rebuild their lives and go out and become regular tenants and or homeowners across Chicago.
Well, I got to talk about the program, the anonymous programs that help thousands of people, millions of people actually all over the world. But in our direct area, I mean, we do recover thanks to one person helping another or one addict helping another. It's just awesome how many people invest their time in sponsoring other souls to change their lives in a better way in order to live usefully and happily whole.
Definitely. Anything else you want to say about the first step, second step? But anyway, there are
the
steps.
third step prayer.
Right. Third step prayer. We have 7-step prayer. We have this meditation piece that's in the 11th step, and asking for guidance in your life from whatever supreme being you may choose to. So, but it's also practical living. As one of our buddies used to say, good orderly direction. You don't have to have a God in religion. You can have good orderly direction. That can help you turn your whole life around, help you redevelop your family relations, help you get back in the work world, help you get education, 2-3 degrees,
Being
PhDs.
honest, open-minded, and willing to change.
Right. You can go from the PhD, poor helpless drunk, to the PhD from the University of Maryland or the University of Chicago. We've had people literally go from poor helpless drunks to PhDs at the University of Chicago, PhDs here at the University of Illinois Circle campus, PhDs even down in Urbana, PhDs at Purdue, PhDs at the University of Indiana, PhDs at DePaul. Matter of fact, one of our main advocates for policy, Dr. Brad Olson, who helped us with the Treatment on Demand Initiative and the Second Chance Act, that is a national law, is Dr. Brad Olson. And then he works with the Oxford groups, believe in groups of men and women coming together, building a house of recovery together, and helping hold each other accountable to continue to work on improving their lives. And it's been successful all over the country. I think actually across the world.
Actually, the Oxford group actually helped develop the Alcoholics Anonymous, which helped Narcotics Anonymous. So, I mean,
right, yeah. So it's a full circle and how things tie together. So being some of the more traditional groups and spiritual groups coming together with the more traditional spiritual groups. But also the most important part is we learn to help people and not get caught in the differences of any of those groups, but the commonality of helping people improve their life, the commonality helping them get off drugs and alcohol, commonality help them stay out of jail, help them learn to be responsible citizens.
Talk about some of the sober, fun socials on the West Side. Some of those people that are at 2622 Jackson on a Saturday night.
Right. Yeah. Johnny,
without the program, the police department would. I mean,
be locking them up because
gun violence, gun violence prevention at the Hill.
Yeah. And that's one thing I think sometimes we undervalue the value that recovery. Helping people get away from drugs, who then stop selling drugs, who then stop carrying pistols, and then they stop shooting at each other.
Start talking about how to help
people, how to save lives instead of destroying lives.
Carrying the message of hope. Carrying God's message.
And the message of change, a message of resilience, a message of new purpose.
Coming to believe that a power greater than ourselves could change everything.
And have a new way of life. It's promised to you if you're willing to do the work.
Well, you got to take inventory and change those things that were defective in your life.
Inventory? You mean you got to see what's on your shelf in the
pantry?
House. You got to go see what's in the pantry.
House and help others.
What's in your office area? How many books you got from classes or training programs?
Then you got to really be earnestly interested in changing.
Yeah, honestly, you have to work on yourself and inventory yourself, your good and bad characters, and then learn to work on improving your bad and then accenting and further developing your good.
And then, the guys that were having problems with gun violence can go home and enjoy their wife and play with their kids and just have a wholesome family. Grandkids.
One of the best family changing methods is the recovery program.
Get ready for Valentine's Day next month.
Yeah. And you would be surprised.
Sober fun.
Major
Holidays.
TV personalities, actors, and everything now talk about how recovery changed their life and changed the trajectory of their careers.
4032 West Van Buren, a hand-up recovery home, helps.
Thank you for your time, and we hope we've given some pertinent information to change lives and save families.
Enjoy the nice weather today. Chicago?
Keep hope alive.